Hi everyone, it's Veronica from Lotus Crochet. In today's video tutorial, I would like to teach you how to work this beautiful Lotus Crochet Stitch. It's a beautifully textured crochet stitch, as you can see. All you need to know how to work is the puff stitch, chain stitches and single crochet. I love this stitch because it creates a really squishy, thick fabric, but it's still quite pliable and not dense at all. So in today's tutorial, I'm using a 5mm crochet hook, and this is a DK weight yarn. It's the Capra DK from We Crochet. So you can grab any hook and any yarn and give this beautiful stitch a go, and I will walk you through it step by step. Right, so to start the very first row of the Lotus Crochet Stitch, we're going to start with a slip knot, and I'm going to chain 14, seven, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13, 14, okay? So I've chained 14 for this small sample, but the multiple for this stitch is multiples of 6 plus 2. Okay, so if you wanted to adjust the size of your sample, it's multiples of 6 plus 2. Okay, so I'm going to start with working one single crochet into the second chain from the hook. So I'm going to miss the first chain and start working into the second chain from the hook, and we're going to work one single crochet into the second chain from the hook. Okay, now we're going to miss 2 chains on the foundation chain, and I'm going to start working into the third chain right here. Okay, so into this third chain we're going to place one puff stitch, chain 2, one puff stitch, chain 2, one puff stitch. Okay, so let's walk through that slowly together. So skip 2 chains, and into the third chain I'm going to work my first puff stitch, which is yarn over, insert the hook through the chain, yarn over and pull up a loop. Make sure to pull up the loop to the height of the stitch, don't do it too tight. Then yarn over again, insert the hook back into the very same chain, yarn over and pull up a loop. So that's the second time, and I'm going to repeat that one more time. So yarn over, insert my hook into the same chain, yarn over and pull up a loop to the height of the stitch. Now I'm going to yarn over and pull through all 6 loops on the hook. That leaves me with 2 loops, and I'm going to yarn over and pull through 2. Okay, now we're going to separate the puff stitch with 2 chain. Okay, and I'm going to work another puff stitch still in that very same chain. I'm not moving away from that chain just yet, so I'm going to repeat the exact process for the puff stitch and make another one. Yarn over, pull through 6 loops, and then yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, and again I'm going to chain 2, and I'm going to work one more puff stitch into that very same chain that we're working into, like this. We're going to repeat that, then pull through 6, pull through 2. Okay, so we worked single crochet, then puff stitch, 2 chain, puff stitch, 2 chain and puff stitch. Okay, now I'm going to back to the foundation chain, and I'm going to miss 2 chains and place one single crochet into the next chain like this, and that finishes off the very first lotus stitch right here. Okay, so let's work another one together. So I'm going to skip 2 stitches on a foundation chain, and I'm going to place another lotus stitch into the following chain. So first puff stitch, 3, then yarn over, pull through 6 loops, yarn over, pull through 2. I'm going to chain 2, and I'm going to work another puff stitch into that very same chain, like this, and chain 2, and the third puff stitch into that very same chain again, like this. Okay, so I've got 2 lotus stitches, and now I'm left with 3 chains on the foundation chain, which means I'm gonna skip 2 and I'm gonna place 1 single crochet into the very last chain, like this. So that's the start of the lotus stitch right there. Okay, now we're going to turn, and I'm going to show you how to start the second row, because that one is ever so slightly different. Okay, so we started the first row with single crochet here, but to start the second row, as you can see, we're going to work half a lotus stitch on this side, then the full lotus stitch in the middle, and then another half of the lotus stitch on this side here. Okay, so to do that, we're going to start the second row with chain 2. I'm going to chain 2. Now this chain 2 is going to count as the first strand of the puff stitch. Okay, so you know how you kind of yarn over and pull up a loop 3 times to create a puff stitch? This 2 chain on the edge is going to count as one of those. So one of those yarn over and pull up a loop. So to finish off the first puff stitch, I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook and pull up a loop, but I'm only going to do this twice, like this. Then I'm going to yarn over and pull through 4 loops on a hook, and then yarn over and pull through 2. Okay, so that's the first puff stitch finished on the end. Then I'm going to chain 2, and I'm going to place another puff stitch into the single crochet stitch at the bottom of the first puff stitch. Okay, so 1, 2, and 3. Then yarn over, pull through 6 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Okay, so as you can see, this is kind of like a half of the lotus stitch right here on the edge. Okay, now it brings us onto this full lotus stitch from first row. So I'm going to miss the first puff stitch, miss this 2 chain space, and I'm going to work 1 single crochet into the top of this middle puff stitch. Okay, so 1 single crochet into there, like this. Okay, then we're going to place another lotus stitch, and it's going to sit nicely in this dip between the first 2 lotus stitches from the first row. So I'm going to miss another 2 chain space here, miss the last puff stitch, and I'm going to work into this single crochet in between the 2 lotus stitches. The process is exactly the same, so I'm going to place 3 puff stitches separated by 2 chain spaces in that single crochet. So you should have a little practice by now. So I'm just going to swish through this bit as usual, and we'll show you how to finish off the lotus stitch on the other side. Okay, like this. So that's the 3 puff stitches separated by 2 chain spaces, and I'm going to go on to this last one, and I'm going to miss the puff stitch, miss the 2 chain space, and again I'm going to place 1 single crochet into the top of the middle puff stitch right there. Okay, now I'm going to miss the 2 chain space and the very last puff stitch, and I'm going to turn my attention to this very last single crochet of the row, and we're going to work 1 puff stitch into that single crochet. So we're basically going to mirror the other side of this row that we started. So I work 1 puff stitch, then chain 2, and I'm going to work 1 more puff stitch into that very last single crochet there. And pull through 6 and pull through 2. Okay, so that's the end of second row. Let me just adjust it a little bit, put them into position, and here you have it. That's the lotus stitch. As you can see, it will need a little blocking after you finish it, but there you have it. So that's the lotus stitch, the first 2 rows of lotus stitch. To start the third row, you would again start with a single crochet and then work 1 lotus stitch here into the single crochet, place single crochet into the top of the middle one and another lotus stitch into that single crochet here, and finish off with a single crochet into the top of the very first puff stitch of row 2. Okay, so that's the simple repeat of row 1 and row 2 for the lotus stitch. So I hope you enjoyed today's video tutorial. It's a beautiful textured stitch. I hope you will use it in your next project. If you enjoyed today's tutorial, please subscribe to my YouTube channel or give us the thumbs up, like this video, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notifications so you get a little notification every time I add a new tutorial to my channel. If you wanted to see the written instructions for this pattern, for this tutorial, it's available on my blog bluestarcrochet.com. I will leave the link in the description for this video. Thank you for watching. Bye.